The importance of sleep. Recently, I have seen a situation that brought clearly into focus one of the things that I do believe. If you want to believe that there is, let's say, an enemy of humanity, and let's say that there is forces working against humanity, then probably one of the most overlooked attacks in weakening humanity would be attacking our ability to sleep. In fact, it has gotten so bad worldwide that the possible repercussions of this pandemic facing humanity will alarm you, and it should. We're going to get into sleep. This is from the website patientslikeme.com. Let's walk through this. Insomnia. How lack of sleep affects people with health conditions. Do you think you have a sleep problem? Well, by all surveys, all sample studies, the answer for the vast majority of the population is an overwhelming yes. In fact, we're going to see how bad this really is. A very simple thing. We all know you must have sleep. It's no different than having water. You deprive yourself of water, you will die. And here's the sad reality. For many of the worldwide population, that's exactly what we are doing. When you have had sleep problems, how long do they last? Now, I was surprised in this one. 53% of respondents and those studied reported a year or longer. There are studies out there that show many people who have not slept soundly or through a whole night for decades. Decades. How stress and lack of sleep affect people with health conditions. Check this out. Sleep problems caused by stress or anxiety, 88%. Women more affected by stress induce sleep problems than men, 89 versus 84. Stress-induced sleep problems impact on work. Took longer to do what was expected, 41%. Missed important work commitments, 12%. In fact, a recent study conducted by the U.S. Labor Department showed that sleep deprivation is costing the U.S. economy nearly $1/3 of $1 trillion. Stress-induced sleep problems limited daily functions, 32%. And the alarming fact on this statistic is that it doesn't matter whether you're white collar, blue collar, or purple collar. It's affecting all occupations. How would you like to have your surgeon have an episode? How lack of sleep affects people with health conditions here. Awoke a lot during the night. Look at this. 32% of the population reports that they cannot sleep during the night. Now, in another survey conducted by patientslikeme.com, their respondents said 70%. Now, either one of two things are going on here. Either the National Sleep Foundation in theirs, and they actually said this was their study, while the one that we're looking at is looking at every night, almost single night, or a few nights a week in the last 12 months. Now, that's how it was stated. I think I'm going to go probably with the one with the patients like me. And if that is the case, think about that, folks. 7 out of 10 people cannot sleep through an 8-hour. Can't. Woke up feeling unrefreshed. 72% with the survey respondents with patients like me. 38 with the National Sleep Foundation. This is alarming. Cranky from sleep problems. Look at this. Super irritable. 11%. Wow. A bit irritable. 50%. Irritable as usual, 21%. Less irritable, 4%. Never irritable, 13%. And I dare say that those people, never irritable, they're not of our species. Now, ladies, gentlemen, look at this. The lack of sleep that's impacting you is impacting your lover, your significant other. It is shown to have a significant loss of libido. Look at the symptoms emotionally: lack of sexual desire, difficult becoming aroused, frustration, low response to sexual stimulation. And look at the physical attributes. For women, this is amazing. Vaginal dryness and pain, thinning of the vaginal walls, and painful intercourse. This is from the lack of sleep. We have to learn to sleep again, because what you're about to see will show you that there should be sleep centers opened up on every corner. All right, guys, check this out. Feeling the effects of sleep deprivation: irritability, cognitive impairment, memory lapses or loss, impaired moral judgment, severe yawning, hallucinations, symptoms similar to ADHD, impaired immune system, risk of diabetes type 2, increased heart rate, variability, risk of heart disease, decreased reaction time and accuracy, tremors, aches. Others are growth suppression, risk of obesity, decreased temperature. I thought this was funny. Here lies Fred upon his bed. He once was here, but now he's dead. But do not worry and do not weep, for Fred is so happy to finally get some sleep. That may be the biggest reward of death of all. All right, so let's just look at this. Dangers of lack of sleep. 1, lack of sleep causes accidents, makes you dumber, kills your sex drive, causes depressions, makes you forgetful, makes you get fat, makes your skin look ugly, leads to seriously health problems, and most of all, and are you ready? It's going to kill you. How do you sleep? Do you need aids to help you sleep? To help quiet you down? Alcohol? Drugs? Look at this. So not only do you have a problem with the sleep disorders, but look at this. It can cause issues with snoring, enlarged tongue, overweight, enlarged tonsils of uvula, small lower jaw, retreated chin. It just goes on. Now, everyone should hope you get old. Don't you ever make fun of anyone old. You don't want it to come back to where you never see the opportunity to be old. But now that we're talking about older adults, here is the number one cause for much of what we see today: forgetfulness and tiredness. The onset is between 50 and 64. Men suffer more than women. Faulty brain rhythms in sleep. Sleep equals good mental health. Now, this was a study conducted in Berkeley, California, by the university. A new study finds that as people age and their ability to get truly restful sleep diminishes, their risk of memory loss and a wide range of mental and physical disorders increase. A recent study finds that older adults who aren't getting enough deep sleep are more likely to suffer from memory loss and life-threatening ailments like heart disease. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley determined that the parts of the brain that deteriorate the fastest as we age are the same areas that are responsible for deep, restorative sleep we enjoyed in our youth. Nearly every disease killing us in later life has a causal link to lack of sleep, says senior author Matthew Walker, professor of neuroscience and psychology at the school, in a new release. Such ailments include heart disease, diabetes, stroke, says Walker, while memory-related conditions such as Alzheimer's are more likely when it comes to lack of ample rest. This study also comes that it finds that older adults who are not getting enough sleep are more likely to suffer memory loss, life-threatening ailments, and heart disease. So these studies continue to show a common factor. Look at this. We see a lot of mental health issues. I wonder how much of what's ailing us is caused by our inability to sleep. I mean, literally, look what happens here. Stroke risk by quadruple, obesity, risk of cancers, diabetes, heart disease, sperm low count, risk of death. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Now, there is a effect called the roller coaster effect. This kind of sleep kills you, literally. Another study in Waco, Texas. Think you can play games with your sleep cycles and win? Think again. Researchers at Baylor University suspected that students in studio-oriented majors might be sacrificing regular sleep for the sake of artistic insights into the night. Students in creative majors with multiple deadlines may believe that sleep deprivation is almost a badge of honor, says lead author Elsie King, assistant professor of interior design at Baylor's Robbins College of Health and Human Sciences. Researchers decided to test this idea by studying the sleep habits of 28 interior design students. Their findings: losing sleep on some nights to complete projects, then binge sleeping on other nights to make up for lost sleep, has a negative impact on both focus and creativity. Students wore devices similar to Fitbits that tracked movement and sleep disturbances. They were tracked with keeping daily sleep diaries, where they estimated both the quality and quantity of their sleep. They were also tested on the first and last days of the study for creative and executive attention. Only one of the students in the study regularly slept the 7 to 9 hours recommended by young adults by the National Sleep Foundation. Researchers found that students tended to think they were sleeping more than they actually were. The reality is that most of the students, 79%, were missing out on the minimum 7 hours about half the time. The more variability they showed in their night-to-night sleep, the worse their cognitive decline across the week, explains co-author Michael Scullion, PhD. Though some may believe creativity is at its best in the middle of the night, researchers have come up with quite opposite results. Consistent habits are at least as important as total length of sleep, says Scullion. Researchers would like to use these methods to test students in other universities who are in studio-based majors such as art, architecture, and graphic design. So you can actually find this study printed in the Journal of Interior Design. So staying up late at night is not helping you, it's killing you. And the older you are, and the more that you are interrupting the natural rhythm of your sleep pattern, you might as well just start chunking the days off, because that's what you're doing. Sleep well, live longer. Study links insomnia to health adversities. Really? Struggling to fall asleep can be maddening, but it may also carry serious health risks. A recent study finds that insomnia can increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes. With more people suffering from insomnia symptoms than ever, including difficult initiating sleep, difficulty maintaining sleep, early morning awakening, and non-restorative sleep, the study's first author, I think that is Kao He, and her team at China Medical University studied the cardiovascular effects of these symptoms. Sleep is important for biological recovery and takes around a third of our lifetime. But in modern society, more and more people complain of insomnia. For example, it is reported that approximately 1/3 of the general population in Germany has suffered from insomnia symptoms. The researchers examined data for more than 160,000 people who participated in 15 different studies. During follow-up assessments, researchers found 11,702 patients suffered adverse cardiac events. The insomnia symptoms that drew the highest correlation to heart disease were difficult falling asleep, difficulty maintaining sleep, and non-restorative sleep. And folks, there are studies out there happening now. Are you ready, folks? Guys, in your 30s. We found that difficulty initiating sleep, difficulty maintaining sleep, or non-restorative sleep were associated with 27%, 11%, and 18% higher risk of cardiovascular and stroke events. Now, men suffer the worst. While women appear to have a higher risk of suffering from insomnia, according to the study, there doesn't appear to be a greater risk of heart disease in women suffering from the condition. You can find this published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology. It's maddening. Sleeping less than 7 hours a night may make you fatter. Now, this study went on to show that if you're gaining weight, ladies, guys, I see more guys that look like they're pregnant than women. This is why. And no matter how much you think you can run, ride your bicycle, or do whatever you think in calisthenics, if you're not getting sleep, you're boomeranging yourself. All right, sleep longer. We have a problem. Our bedrooms are contaminated zones with blue light or the soft red light. You see, before electricity was never a problem. But now everyone carries their smartphone to bed with them. And here's the problem. If it's sleeping within arm's length of you, you're frying yourself. You're giving yourself most likely cancer down the road. But the fact is this: researchers at the University of Houston recruited 22 participants aged 17 to 42 for a study on the effects of emitted blue light on sleep quality and quantity. The participants were instructed to wear glasses that blocked short-wave emissions over a 2-week period for the 3 hours preceding one's normal bedtime. Resuming digital activity as normal, participants saw a 58% increase in their nighttime melatonin levels after the experiment, which signals even better results than taking over-the-counter stimulants that are meant to boost melatonin. Do you see what's happening here? The lower melatonin levels means you're not going to sleep, folks. And again, you're boomeranging yourself. This is the sleep destroyer, the fatal light of humanity. It's important to note that while electronics emit high levels of artificial blue light and affect us most at night, the sun is also the biggest source of natural blue light emissions. But we've learned through evolution how to adjust to the sun. We don't know about this other one. Sometimes old-fashioned still works. Let's talk about abnormal sleep behavior disorders. While we can get into snoring, sleep deprivation, hypersomnia, sleepwalking, insomnia, sleep apnea, excessive sleeping, REM sleep disorders, talking in your sleep, night sweat, sleep paralysis, tossing and turning. Yeah, folks, this gets even stranger. So let's talk about REM sleep behavior disorders. That's rapid eye movement. The lack of REM sleep, guess what? You become psychotic. Oh, yeah. And it don't take that much of a disruption for it to start manifesting in your personality. What we call sleep involves transition between 3 different states: wakefulness, rapid eye movement, sleep, which is associated with dreaming, and non-rapid eye movement, sleep. There are a variety of characteristics that define each state. But to understand REM sleep behavior disorder, it's important to know that it occurs during REM sleep. During this state, the electrical activity of the brain, as recorded by the electroencephalogram, looks similar to the electrical activity that occurs during waking. Although neurons in the brain during REM sleep are functioning much as they do during waking, REM sleep is also characterized by temporary muscle paralysis. For most people, dreaming is purely a mental activity. Dreams occur in the mind while the body is at rest. This is what it's repairing yourself, right? And then you're going to get down into the deep sleep. But people who suffer from REM sleep behavior disorder, RBD, act out their dreams. They physically move limbs or even get up and engage in activities associated with waking. Some engage in sleep talking, shouting, screaming, hitting, or punching. Some even fly out of bed while sleeping. RBD is usually noticed when it causes danger to the sleeping person, their bed partner, or others they encounter. Sometimes ill effects such as injury to self or bed partner sustained while asleep triggered a diagnosis of RBD. The good news is that RBD can usually be treated successfully. So if you or your partner is suffering from any of these, might want to get it checked out. In some sleep disorders, such as narcolepsy, and this is really something I used to suffer from, what they call parainsomnia, like REM sleep behavior disorder, the distinction between these 2 different states breaks down by this. Characteristics of one state carry over or invade the other. Sleep researchers believe that the neurological barriers that separate the states don't function properly, though the cause of such occurrence is not entirely understood. And this is the interesting thing when you talk about this REM behavior disorder. We're still learning. Now, this is where you can see it has an effect, and as we get older, it begins to affect males more, as we've seen. And it's better than a domestic violence charge when you find out that you weren't responsible for doing that in your sleep. So, sleep deprivation equals shortened life. Now, let's talk about sleep talking. Sleep talking, formerly known as, don't even try, is basically when you're talking in your sleep. I have known some past relationships where they talked in their sleep. What would wake you up talking in their sleep? Now, maybe you suffer from this. Maybe your partner suffers from this, or maybe you have loved ones who suffer from this. Understand, it's one that they're still trying to figure out. In fact, um, the studies that they're doing is showing that there is a very interesting thing happen. So little is known about the content of the sleep talking. Some talking makes no sense at all, and some of it may relate to past events, experiences, and relationships that no longer have current relevance or emotional impact. You're boomeranging yourself. You're right. You got to get this, folks. Come on. You don't think that the soul is complex? The mind? Modern sleep science and the law accept that sleep talking is not a product of the conscious or rational mind and therefore usually inadmissible in court. Although it's not harmful physically, there is reason to probably want to get it checked out. Now, what's even worse than sleep talking, depending, is sleep walking. Now, these are pictures of people actually being in the act. They don't have any memory of this at all. And it can become very dangerous. This is another sleep disorder. Now, when you think that the general population is estimated to have between 1 and 15% prevalence of sleepwalking, well, just here in the United States, that's 360 million people. Do the math, folks. There's zombies walking out there. Now, the prevalence of sleepwalking is much higher in children, especially those of the ages of 3 to 7. And it's an interesting science. We'll get into this as well. But one of the things with children is also is the bedwetting that's associated with this. So as you can see, there's little or no memory of the event, difficulty arousing the sleepwalker during the episode, and inappropriate behavior such as urinating in closets and screaming, which leads us to nightmares. Now, we've all experienced nightmares, and this again is most common in children during REM sleep, but it also affects us adults. Sleep terrors have common characteristics as opposed to nightmares. They usually include arousal, agitation, large pupils, sweating, and increased blood pressure. So usually the child screams and appears terrified for several minutes until they eventually relax and return to sleep. And by the way, it happens more with females, even as you get older. Sleep paralysis. I suffered from this for years. It's a terrible, terrible thing to have to deal with. So how much sleep do we need? Well, basically, they've got this down to a pretty good science. And as you can see here, it's depending on the age and the hours. And as you can see, with newborns, they're going to sleep more, obviously. I find that it's very interesting that as you get past the age of 65, you actually don't require that much sleep. But as you can see in the prime years, the young adult and adult years is where the biggest damage happens. If you're not allowing yourself to be healed at night, restorative sleep, it can become a problem. Now, here's another one, a non 24-hour sleep wake disorder. So think about this one. Currently, non 24-hour sleep wake disorder is known to share symptoms that are similar to those found in other sleep disorders. Sleep patterns from previously recorded cases may give insight to certain signs to watch for. Now, this is kind of weird because we're finding it seems like if you have one problem where sleep is concerned, it just opens up this huge Pandora's box. So the lack of sleep can certainly exhibit and exasperate anxiety. People who are coming back who have stressful jobs, we're finding that it's very impacting on sleep. Now, here's another one. Think about all the services that takes place when we are asleep. Well, this is called surviving the shift world. And shift workers, your lifespan is dramatically reduced. There is a natural rhythm that Homo sapiens, in fact, all animals have it, this natural rhythm of sleep and awake. And our friends that do graveyard shift, the swing shift, they have the biggest difficulty. I never realized how chronic a condition that it can actually be. And particularly if your shift, is shifting, this is just, I got to tell you, whoever thought of ever doing that needs their head examined. As you well know, it's virtually very difficult for you to sleep. You sleep restlessly, you sleep intermittently. So again, this leads to health problems. You're going to see it, whether it's your cardiovascular system, whether it's your circulatory system, it's your brain. I mean, it just compounds itself. Now, there's an order called delayed sleep phase disorder. And this is with an individual's preferred sleep time is delayed 3 to 6 hours compared to conventional times. So let's say you're on a trip, jet lagging, etc. It's amazing how long it takes your body to begin to recover from something that you don't think is that big of a deal. Now, excessive sleepiness. This happens is a leading complaint of patients who visit sleep clinics. In other words, to get the studies that you're going to have, you're going to end up having another effect, excessive sleepiness. So, yeah, we thank those who do the testing. They are taking the hit for us. So if you're frequently tired, work less productively, make mistakes just like I did with productivity, have lapses in judgment or wakefulness, or feel unable to enjoy or fully participate in life's activities, don't just push through. What is happening here, if you're suffering these, sometimes it's not so much what's wrong with your body, you mean physiologically, blood work, etc. It's that you're suffering from a sleep disorder, narcolepsy. We've all heard about this, but this is starting to happen more and more. Now, there's different degrees of it. You can have a sudden loss of muscle tone that leads to a slack jaw or weakness in arms, legs, or trunk. the people who are suffering from this and may not even know that they're suffering from this also experience dreamlike hallucinations and paralysis as they are falling asleep or waking up, as well as disrupted nighttime sleep and vivid nightmares. This is terrible, and it's increasing, folks. Excessive daytime sleepiness disorder, hypersomnia. This is the world we're living in. And the fact that each of us has a specific sleep requirement. Now, some people need 9 hours of night of sleep in order to feel their best, while others feel great with just 7. But imagine getting 10 or more hours of sleep at night plus a couple of hour long naps during the day and still feeling sleepy, then you got a problem. It's when I started getting into this, I become, well, much more sensitive, and I became much more, how shall we say, concerned. It seems like we all need more sleep. And by the way, the naps, um, yeah, learn to sleep again. We're finding out that in our natural sleep cycles and rhythm, taking a midday nap, woo, they say in the studies that it does an amazing thing for the mind, the brain, the body, and what the body can actually do in rejuvenating itself. So learn to sleep again, folks. Take a nap during the day. Sleep and live long. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Deep sleep is a natural fountain of youth in old age. So let's all take this advice. We're all in old age, whether you are 10 or whether you are 90. The fact is, you are a day older than you were yesterday. Learn to sleep, sleep well, and if you know that you have a problem and you like living, go and let's start taking care of ourselves. That's the most important thing that we can do.